Hey, and welcome back to the WhizzbangBAM podcast. I'm your host, Brad Goodall. With me today, graphic artist extraordinaire, Jimbo Valentine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. Give me a really long answer for what it is you do. I'm going to put you on the spot right off the bat.
All right. It's pretty good since I have no idea what we're even going to talk about. But I just do a lot of graphic design, graphic art, mixed media, shirt designs, just all kinds of stuff.
Anything and everything. I know your work most personally through the tour posters and the show posters for the V Club now, The Loud. How long you been designing posters? Because you have a signature style that's kind of lived in the Huntington area for a long time.
I started in Huntington like 2009. I've been doing it since like 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
But 2009 is when I really connected into all the Huntington stuff and started working at the V Club.
Right. How do you get started doing that? You're just making art on your own, and then you figure out a way to collaborate with a venue, or how do you get into that?
Well, actually, that I had started. I wanted to learn how to do posters and stuff, and I wanted to learn how to screen print, so I bought a screen printing press.
Mm-hmm.
And like
I've dabbled.
And I joined a forum called gigposters.com back in the day, and it was like just had everybody that was anybody doing posters at that time.
Right. Like
all the pros, and I was like, so I went on there and started to learn how to do it, and I bought a press, and then I was a big fan of the band Clutch and was like on their message board and stuff, and I got hooked up with them to do a screen printed poster for the show at the V Club.
Right.
And then after the show, Pat saw it and he found out that I lived in town. And then he hit me up actually about doing murals that I painted out on the patio.
Okay.
And
wait, those are yours out there on the club?
Yeah.
On the exterior?
Yeah, most of them.
I didn't know that. Very cool.
Yeah, I painted those back in like 2009, 2010.
Okay.
And then it just went into making actual posters there too.
I got you. You connected with the band through message boards?
Yeah.
That's so 2006.
Oh, I mean, it's totally early 2000s.
I have not heard of anybody doing that in a long time. That was like the original, I mean, not the original, but that was like what Instagram DMs are now. People would get on the message boards and find your little clique or whatever, and you could, like, I'm assuming, talk directly to the bands that way?
Well, sometimes, like, I don't think the band was on there very much,
right,
at least at that point in time, but there was a huge fan base on there. And it turned out there was a lot of people in Huntington on there, and that's also how I met some of my earliest friends here, is through that message board. Which is so weird to meet someone in your own town on a message board, but it's really super 2000s.
You owe your whole life to this message board.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real no joke. Like, I had a friend on there. She I just like messing around with learning how to use Photoshop and stuff, and she was like, "You should make posters for bands," and kind of like, I think she was the one that really gave me the initial spark, and she actually works for Newberry Comics, like out of Boston and stuff. And she was like, "If you make posters, we'll sell them for you."
Sure.
And so, like, some of the early screen printed posters I made, she sold some of them for me through their site too. So I mean, that message board really, truly was a springboard for me.
All to the message board.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
I have like interest in design, but I have no ability to execute it. I'm assuming you use all the modern Photoshops and all that, right?
Yeah, I usually use Photoshop's my main thing, and I'll use some Illustrator, and then now I got like an iPad, and I use Procreate a lot to do like illustration stuff.
I gotta get my hands on some of these programs, because I see stuff that I want to put together for, like, I'm trying to design merch and stuff like that. And if I could at least roughly put it together, I could show it to a pro, somebody like you, who could open it up a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I just don't have the, I'm going to have to take a bunch of classes. I'm going to have to get on the message boards and see if somebody can teach me how to use Photoshop.
Well, I mean, you just got to I just started learning how to do it. You just gotta
Just
start
hop
messing
in.
with is
You
the
just
best
hop
way to
in.
do it.
Did you get an education in this stuff, or is it straight just home learning?
No, it's pretty much all home learning. I went back to Marshall for a couple years and was taking business classes, and then I took a couple digital classes, but I had already by then was like,
Right.
I took the class and I was like, I already know all this.
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing.
But I mean, not saying I didn't learn anything like more specific technical things, because I'm one of those people. I'm like, I know how to use Photoshop, but I might not know it in the most correct terminology or the most quickest way to do something. You know,
you'll get to the same result.
Yeah,
though.
you. That's the good thing about Photoshop. There's like 5,000 ways to do anything in there, which
Right.
also makes it kind of, you know,
Cumbersome.
Yeah. It's
Overwhelming,
Like,
I think
to
is the
someone's
term.
to start using it where you're like, oh my God, I want to do this simple thing. I can't figure out how to do
Right.
it. And then once you figure out how to do it, you'll also figure out there's several ways to do that.
Right. What's the turnaround rate on like doing show posters though? Because you must have to like churn out like what, 20 of those a month or something? 15?
It just depends. I mean, like a lot of those old V Club posters, I mean, some of those I could really get in a groove with it, and it's just hard to explain, but a lot of times I could do 5 or 6 posters in a day.
Oh, okay.
If everything was going smoothly.
Right.
And like, you know, I've always been pretty good at either I get the inspiration and I just start doing it, or I can just vaguely have a thing and start messing around with it, and then it'll reveal itself, you know?
Sure.
And like, but other times I'll get more involved and I'll spend like days on a poster, you know? So it's anywhere in between an hour or 2 or 3 days.
Relatively across the board, that is the creative process. You can get wound up into it and something can happen really fast. A bunch of stuff can happen really fast. Or, you're going to get stuck and it's going to take way too long. And then you end up like losing money on the job because you're like, oh, this took me 3 days when I really kind of only asked for about a day's work.
That's definitely happened to me more recently, only because I've been doing a whole lot more illustration and digital painting stuff, and like, so it takes a little longer,
right?
But I want to put the effort in, but then you hit a point where you're like, well, I'm losing money on this now, but the like artistic experience is also worth.
Yeah, you're learning.
It has
something
value
from it.
too, you know.
You're learning something from it. Do you know how to do the animation stuff where like a lot of bands are putting visualizers with their songs? So let's say a band comes out with a song and they don't have a music video or whatever, or maybe they don't want to do a music video because it like doesn't call for it or whatever.
Yeah.
Are you privy to like the animation? So like Big Thief, you ever heard of Big Thief?
Yeah.
They put out a couple of songs and the visualizer was so simple. It was just an illustration, but it had like this subtle movement to it. Like really, really subtle. Do you do that kind of stuff too?
I've done a little bit of it, but not very much.
Okay.
But that's something I've been learning.
Yeah.
Because I've also been trying to learn like After Effects.
Sure.
And with in conjunction with Adobe Premiere.
Right.
And like that's all kind of like newer stuff to me.
Yeah.
That I've been trying.
No, that stuff's brand new.
Like get into, and I've done some little experiments, but have yet to really put it out there yet.
I got you. I feel like that's the future of like the way stuff can't really be static online. A great work of art or a poster can definitely be static and you can look at it and enjoy it and then absorb the information and it's cool.
Yeah.
And like when you go to put stuff online, I feel like the algorithm does not appreciate it if it's just like if there's audio on a static image. I've definitely tested that before and it's like it doesn't work as much if you have just a little bit. If you have a little bit of that movement, some of that like I don't know what the right term is. A little bit of kinetic energy in something. The algorithm appreciates it.
But it's also just like a 3 or 5 second loop or
totally
something like
that. Yeah, absolutely. It's almost 2 frames. It's just connecting 2 frames like smoothly, and that's all you really need.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that the algorithms would pick up on that more than it would just a static image.
Right.
But then again, it seems like now all social media just wants to make it super hard for you to get any kind of engagement without paying a bunch of money,
right.
You know? So like,
I was hoping we were going to find a pocket to complain about algorithms and social media because that's been on my mind a lot lately.
Yeah.
Stuff has to be so production heavy and so clean and so loud and proud to get past that original feed, because Instagram won't even show I just learned this. Instagram does not show your followers what you posted the first time you posted it. It'll only show them. It'll show your work to like 1/3 of it, and if it gets enough reactions, comments, and shares, it'll show it to the next phase of your followers.
Yeah.
I don't know when they changed it to that, but I feel like that's detrimental. No?
Yeah, I absolutely think it is.
I think that's the way TikTok works too. I think TikTok will show your video to like 7 people, and if 3 of them click on it or whatever, then it shows it to 400.
Yeah.
And then the thing moves on like that. I don't know. I have gripes with Instagram.
I mean, I think that's one of the good things of where we also like have a good supportive community, like in our musical and arts community around here. So like if I post something, a lot of times I'll at least have a handful of people that'll repost it, and that really goes a long way to getting it in some more traction.
Absolutely.
You know, but other times you post something and you're like, man, this is gonna kill it, and then you're like 30 likes or whatever, and you got like I don't know, I got like 5,000 Instagram followers or something, and you know, and you're like, no one's seeing this for whatever reason, but then sometimes you post something that you don't really expect, and it'll just, you know,
it'll pop off.
And sometimes I wonder if it's just that, or if it's like has to do what time of day you post it at.
That matters
like,
too.
You know, like there's all kinds of different things to like try to take in consideration of trying to decode these algorithms, and I don't think we can. And they don't want us to. Earlier
in the day is definitely better.
Yeah.
I feel like 10 a.m. is like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And like I'll stay up all night and get a wild hair or whatever the phrase is, and post stuff at like 4 a.m, and of course no one sees it. You posted it in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's when I'm buzzing.
Yeah. Like sometimes, like, because I'm mainly a night person, I go to bed like, you know, anywhere from 4 to 8 in the morning, and I always do these like sweet dreams posts on Facebook, where it's usually like something weird or something cute or something just interesting, or it's a mix of stuff.
Right.
And I'll post them like before I go to bed, which is a lot of times right before other people are getting up. So then I'm like, you never know how it's going to be. Like I go to bed for a few hours and I wake up and like 100 people are like, this is so weird, or like whatever, you know, and a bunch of people like it. And then the next day is like 3 people.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you're like, I don't understand, you know.
I
just don't understand.
You know where we need to find the answer? The message boards.
Yeah.
Somebody there knows the answer to this.
I'm gonna hop on AOL Instant Messenger and like
let's log on and get to the bottom of this. Jimbo, thanks for stopping by. My fellow night owl, Jimbo Valentine. Good to see you, bro.
Thanks so much for having me. It's good to see you too.